Good morning, everybody. I'm starting early because I'm freezing. Didn't think it would be this cold out here, but I wanted to have the sunset, the sunrise. Tommy's always complaining that he doesn't get to see the sunrise, so if he watches this morning, he can see mine. Anyway, I hope you guys can hear me all right. Let me move this a little closer. All right. Let's see if I can get this to stand up now. Okay. Hang on, guys. Raise this up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, can you guys hear me? I hope so. I don't have, darn it, got any way. What is going on with my comments? I can't. Dang it, I can't see my own comments here. Boy. Okay. Okay, you guys can hear me. Cool. All right. Hey, Cindy, it's good to see you. And Charlie and Monk, and I know M. Hunt was here earlier. I don't know if he's here now, but come on, computer. Let's see. Who else? I guess that's it so far. Anyway, welcome everybody. Didn't think it would be this cold. Anyway, that's okay. We'll get through this. You'll get to see the sunrise in Utah. Anyway, behind me, you can see the town that I'm from. It looked really cool. About 15 minutes ago, it looked really cool. It was still dark, and you could see all the lights. Anyway, I am AKA HeatherJoy. I'm sure you guys know that, but for anybody who is just turning in here, yeah, I'm AKA HeatherJoy, and you are on the lifeboat. We have 4 rules we need to go through really fast before I get started. First one, I should know these by now. This is not a political channel, and we don't discuss politics, except at Tommy's discretion. The second rule is this is not a religious channel, and it's fine to say things like, I'm going to pray for you, or, I couldn't have found sobriety without my faith, but anything beyond that, no go. You can't tell people that they're not going to heaven for this reason or that. None of that. Let's see. The next rule would be, good grief, you guys, I should know these by now. No cursing. No cursing in the comment section or the live chat. You can't control your mouth, and you can't control your life, as Tommy always says. And the fourth one, there's absolutely no place on the lifeboat or my channel for mean people. This is a place where people come to get help and support. And if you are going to be mean, then you're going to get banned. So I've never seen it happen before, but you never know. Anyway, welcome to the lifeboat and to my channel as well. And it's good to see everybody that is here this morning. And hopefully I'm kind of at the wrong angle. Let me turn it where it's a little bit pink. Oh, it's not coming through the camera though, darn it. When I turn it around, it looks absolutely beautiful. And there's a bug. Get out of here. Okay. Oh my word. Get out of here. All right. So I wanted to talk about toxic relationships today. And before I get started, I just want to make sure that you guys understand what I mean when I talk about a toxic person. It seems like, if you got a toxic person in the house, one is enough. But a toxic person is anyone whose behavior, adds negativity or upset to your life, basically. Many times people that are toxic, they're dealing with their own stresses, and they don't have an appropriate way to deal with it, and they tend to take it out on other people. And it It might not even be anything intentional. A lot of times it is, but sometimes people don't have any idea that they're even doing it. They are just reacting and they don't understand why, and it has to do with something that has happened to them. But it just the same, it's no fun when if you're in a toxic relationship, whether it's a partner, a sibling, a parent, anything like that. It's not a fun thing. And I just want to reiterate, toxic people, they're suffering too. There's some kind of difficult circumstances that they either, that they're either in or they have been in, and they don't have any support and they don't know how to deal with it. So, just keep that in mind. They are in pain as well as inflicting pain. It's like I said, it's not a fun thing. And the house I grew up in, there was plenty of toxicity going on, and it came from just one source too. That was my mother. It wasn't fun. But I understand what she was going through when she was growing up in the house that she grew up in, and I know a lot of the things that happened to her. It makes a lot of sense now, and there's just some things I'm not going to speak of because my mother has never brought it up and doesn't know that I know, so I'm just going to leave it there. But trust me, I know what it's like to have somebody very toxic around it. It's not fun at all. It's very damaging, especially if it's something that you have to deal with long term. It's just not fun. Let me see. I have a toxic, passive aggressive roommate landlord. Oh, that's not fun. I am sorry about that, Lemmy. I hate that passive aggressive stuff. Not fun. I just want to go over a couple of things before I really jump into it. Just things to keep in mind if you are having to deal with toxic people. There's a couple of things that you need to remember. And the first thing, the best thing to do is focus on positivity. You need to stay positive, because if you've got somebody that's being really toxic, it's very difficult to not become very irritable. you know they I don't know, just trying to stay positive will just help with the situation overall. um and toxic people really can generate some serious issues, and any it's really important to be positive in that situation, just for your mental health. But the second thing to remember would be to set boundaries, and be really good about that. That's something toxic people just aren't very good at. Um, they like, in my experience, they like to have the ability to control other people. They like to have the upper hand, and if they can't control you, then they'll try and manipulate you. So it's very important that you set definite boundaries with these people. Because you really don't want to be manipulated. That's not going to help anything. And the third thing to remember is to focus on your needs. You still need to take care of yourself. You need to, eat right, get the sleep that you need. There's so much drama and garbage that you have to put up with if you've got somebody toxic around you, and you really long term, that can really take some serious effects on your mental and your physical health. And so you need to take care of yourself. Just focus on you. It's not selfish to take care of yourself. It's really not. And the fourth thing, if you are comfortable bringing it up to the toxic person, just at an appropriate time, bringing it up to them that, hey, your behavior is affecting me this way, and tell them, what it's doing to you. I know in the house I grew up in, that was just not an option. You did not complain. You didn't complain. You didn't gripe. What mom said went, and that was it. That was just the way it was. There was no way I would have brought up her behavior to her, and as an adult, when I tried to do that, it did not go well. So that's very often That doesn't, that's just not even a possibility, but just something to keep in mind. Because I do know, I've seen it many, many times where people are behaving in a way and they don't, that's destructive to everybody around them, but they really don't have a clue that they're even doing it. And it might be because of the house they grew up in and it was something they learned and they didn't know anything different. I've seen that quite a lot. But toxic relationships, that's really what I wanted to get into, was talking about that. Um, how do you know if you're in a toxic relationship? I'm pretty sure if you're in one, you probably know, but one of the things you're going to know is that you consistently feel drained, and unhappy, especially after spending time with this toxic person. The relationship you have, if it was good at one time, it no longer feels enjoyable. That'd be another sign. Um, you might tend to rub each other the wrong way where you didn't used to. Um, you can't seem to stop arguing about inconsequential things. That's another sign. And if you find that you are dreading when you have to be around this person again, that's a definite sign right there. But I wanted to go through some serious there's about 14 or 15 hallmarks of a toxic relationship, and I want to talk about those. And I also want to point out, as I go through those, remember there's a point where it's toxic and you can cross the line and it can become abuse. I've seen it and I've experienced it both, and just keep that in mind. I'm sure that many of you know exactly what I'm talking about. And the first hallmark of toxicity in a relationship is that there's just lack of support. The time that you spend together, if it doesn't feel positive anymore, um, let's see, you can't trust them to show up for you. Um, you can't depend on them. Everybody has certain needs that they need met. And if you cannot count on that person for those needs to be met any longer, that's a definite problem. Let me just look through my notes here. I should have brought my glasses today. I'm so tired I can't see very well. Let's see. Interest. Okay, yeah. If you have the feeling that your needs and your interests just don't matter, that's a definite sign right there, of lack of support. But in a good relationship, you should be able to say what you need and what you want, and have the other person respect you, and it should be reciprocal. But yeah, I've seen that before. Definite lack of support with my first marriage. Boy, when I was going through all of these again last night, I kept going back to my first marriage. I said, wow, it was a mess. Anyway, the second hallmark really of toxicity in a relationship would be toxic communication. Rather than mutual respect and kindness, there's sarcasm or criticism or um, anything that's kind of fueled with contempt. And I'll tell you what, that right there, if your partner, if you're if the relationship that, is a romantic one, and you've got that going on where there's a lot of sarcasm, things like that, that's a really good predictor of divorce later on. And I've seen that time and time and time again in different textbooks. I've seen that said over and over there. But snide remarks, another example, like if the toxic person walks into a different room and mimics your voice and repeats something that you just said, I mean, that's a really good indication right there. And I'll never forget when, with my first husband, when I was going through a whole bunch of singing training, he would just make fun of me. he would stand behind me, and I wouldn't even know. I'd be sitting at the piano, going through music or something, and he'd walk up behind me. I wouldn't even realize, and he would start to mimic me, make fun of me, anything like, oh, it was just cruel and uncalled for. He thought he was being funny, but there was nothing funny about it. I'm sure you guys have all experienced something like that. Um, let's see. Other than the snide remarks, are you dodging phone calls to avoid this person? That might be a good indication right there too. But again, toxic communication is another one. Are you afraid that the communication that you do have is going to break out in an argument or hostility? Again, that's pretty toxic. The third hallmark would be envy or jealousy. And it's very normal to be a little envious of anybody, especially when really good things are happening for them. But it definitely can be taken too far. If you're, say, trying to think of a really good example here. Say my husband. He's a world-class athlete, and it's really difficult to travel with him. And I do my little races, and he does his things, and he's up on the podium, and he has success everywhere he goes. And if I was a toxic person, that I might get really jealous of that, and feel very threatened by it, and not celebrate the amazing things that he's doing. If you turn jealous, and that can lead to, trying to think of the right word. I don't know. Sometimes that jealousy can turn into your partner being suspicious, or even mistrusting you, if it gets really bad. But any kind of jealousy or envy, if it goes too far in a relationship, can really, really erode the relationship. So that's another one. I can't think of a really good example on that one. Anyway, the fourth one would be controlling behaviors. Does your partner need to know where you are every single second of the day? If they send you a text, do they freak out if you haven't, answered that text within 5 minutes? I've never had to experience that, but I've seen people who've gone through it, and it's terribly distressing for them. It can stem from some jealousy or a lack of trust, but this behavior also really suggests a need for control. And this is one of those areas where it can really turn into abuse and not just being toxic. And I'll go back to that one later on. But the fifth hallmark would be resentment. If you hold on to grudges for a long period of time, not good, because it just kind of festers, it builds up, and it's really, really bad to hang on to grudges, especially over time, because they do build up, and that can really, you can have some serious grievances between people that can be drug out for a very long time. And sometimes it's because the one person in the relationship is so toxic that you don't dare bring it up. That can definitely be a problem. But in a good healthy relationship, if my husband and I, we call each other out on things all the time, if we've said or done something that was just duh, we both do it to each other, and I have no problem with him calling me out if I have spoken, if I've misspoken, or I have been in a bad mood and just reacted badly to something. I have no problem, and I always apologize if I realize I've done something wrong. I apologize, and that was definitely not the way things were in the house that I grew up in. Um, but that's definitely a good place to a good a good place to look for problems. If you are holding on to a grudge, a grievance that's just been hanging on to for a long time, and you just can't seem to get to fix it or end it. That it's not good. And I have also found that problems like that, when they are when you hold them for a long period of time, that kind of tends to turn to anger when nothing gets solved. And that anger, if that doesn't get resolved, turns to very deep depression. So, look out for that one, guys. The sixth one would be dishonesty. Um, okay, and this can go either way, but I mean, do you find yourself making up excuses, or making up lie about where you've been? I had to do this with my first husband all the time. Um, about if I was like 20 minutes late from getting back to the grocery store, because I decided to stand in the parking lot and talk to a friend or something, I'd have to lie, or I'd have to make excuses, or something to just to keep him from blowing up at me. It was not fun. But if you find yourself having to lie, just to keep the other person happy, or I don't know, that's not a good one. Boy, let's see. um okay, whether it's because this can also go as far as the dishonesty. If that toxic person is being dishonest with you and it, that's a problem. But you can be doing it as well, also, just to maybe avoid spending time with them. If you have ever had a friend that you find, once that you leave that friend, or that friend leaves you, that you are, you know, exhausted emotionally and physically, where they just drain you. Oh, that's not that's not a good one. And I'm guilty of making up excuses with two different people I can think of, just because I don't want to hang around them, because they are draining. And if you've got to spend your whole time with someone trying to boost their ego and make them feel better, and they don't want to listen to you or what you might have going on, it becomes a very one-sided situation. And it's exhausting. Dang it, I was really hoping for a pretty sunrise, but nothing good's going on here yet. Yeah. And the camera just doesn't show it well either. It really is turning pink, but the camera's not showing it. Oh well. Now I've messed it up. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's crooked. Good enough. Let's see. And sometimes you just lie. Anyway, back to the dishonesty. Sometimes you just have to lie to that person just to keep them from not blowing up in your face. I'm guilty of that one too. And I sometimes still do that one with my mother, in big group situations, just to keep her calm, because I know how she can get. And guys, don't get me wrong, I do love my mom. I really do. She's a wonderful lady. And if you understood what she'd been through, you'd understand why she behaves this way. Anyway, the seventh one would be patterns of disrespect. Um, I just want to look at my notes really quick to make sure I get this one right, because the way I understood it and the way it was explained to me were two different things. Um, okay, sometimes people struggle making plans, or keeping good time and being on time. But is the person doing it? Are they doing it intentionally? I'm trying to again, going back to my first marriage. Um, I had worked really, really hard with this group of ladies that I used to perform with. And I ended up working on a solo after, I don't know, about 2 years after I'd been singing with them. I actually got a solo. I'd worked really hard on it, and we were performing in this beautiful hall up at the University of Utah. This performance hall is a beautiful thing. I was so excited about it, and I really wanted my first husband to come and see me sing. And what I wanted and what was important to me, he really did not care about. And he just conveniently forgot that, there was always, but it was that way with it, everything, he just conveniently forgot, and you have to be careful with that one, because is the person sincerely just forgetting and they're just kind of scatterbrained, or is the person doing it on purpose, and because it could definitely be both ways. But again, if they're being disrespectful that way and not valuing the things that are important to you, that's definitely toxic there. The eighth one would be negative financial behaviors. In any kind of relationship, especially if it's like a husband and wife, or your significant other, where you might share the expenses. Usually in that situation, you have already made agreements as to who pays what, and what is okay to spend money on, and what you need to check with your partner first before you go out and purchase. And if that person, if the toxic person, something that they could do is um, just go out and spend whatever they want, like a big ticket item maybe, or withdrawing large amounts of money from a bank account or something without asking you about it, without counseling with you first. That's a big problem right there. And I don't know, but in my experience, and my husband's experience, both the houses that we grew up in, our parents used to fight like cats and dogs over money. Finances seem to always be such an issue of contention. But again, that can be, it can, if somebody's being toxic, they can really do a number on you. I'll never forget um, the day I discovered that my first husband, we were both still in school, and we had little girls, very small kids, and we're just trying to make it. And I come to find out that he had purchased himself two very nice state-of-the-art mountain bikes. I was so upset and so angry, because I was going without, and just trying to scrape by, and he was doing that, and he was hiding it from me. He'd actually rented a storage place where he could hide the bikes from me. And when I discovered that, when I saw him later that day, I was so mad. But I don't know how to handle anger to this day. I don't know how to get mad with someone very well at all. And I was so angry and so upset. And when he walked in the room, I just started laughing hysterically. And it was not, I didn't know where it was coming from, and he had no idea what was going on. But yeah, that's another, anyway, that's just another example of some very negative financial behavior, really. That's, if you have already made an agreement with someone, as far as money, you need to stick with that, and you need to respect that. The ninth one is if you find that you're under constant stress. Ordinary life has its challenges. Every day has its challenges. But if you find that you're constantly stressed out, you're constantly, emotionally and physically drained, and maybe you're having a really difficult time just dealing with work or day-to-day things because you're under so much stress, right there, that's a really good sign. There's, something's not right. And like I said before, if you are under significant stress over a long period of time, it eats away at your mental and your physical health. It really does. I'm living proof, you guys. All the medical problems I have now is a lifetime of stress that wasn't dealt with, you know? Um, the 10th one would be the person, if the other person is ignoring your needs. Um, I was thinking about my first marriage and how all of the things that I wanted to do, the places I wanted to go on vacation, the things I wanted to visit, things like that, were never part of the plan. I always let him know, what I would like to do, but it was never part of the plan. And it seemed like it was always just the way that he wanted. Every single vacation was to Moab to mountain bike, and that was back when I didn't work out and I couldn't. Yeah, it wasn't fun. Let's just leave it there. It wasn't fun. But it was always just going, we had to go along with his way. And just to keep the peace, to keep things happy, not to get the kids upset, I just had to go along with whatever he wanted, but it should be reciprocal. You should respect one another and do things that both people want to do. It's that way with any kind of relationship. Whether it doesn't have to even be partners. It can be anybody. But that's an important one. um if you are speaking up about what you want to do, and then that person just conveniently just makes other plans anyway, that's a good indication right there. um Another one, let's see, number 11 would be lost relationships. Sometimes when you're in a toxic relationship, you end up losing friends and not being able to be around your family as much as you would like to, either because the toxic person in your life is giving you too much grief about it and it's just easier not to, or you don't want to have to explain what is going on with your relationship, to your friends and family. So if you find that you are losing relationships that way, especially important friends and your family, your family's always important. That's a definite sign. You also might find that, the toxic partner, um, if you are spending a lot of time, your thoughts occupied um, with the problems that are going on in your relationship because of that toxicity. That's another good sign right there. I just kind of threw that in, but just came to my mind. The 12th one I've got here would be a lack of self-care. Everybody needs to take care of themselves. In toxic relationships, you might let some of the things that you need go. If you aren't able to, do your usual self-care habits, if you like to go to the gym, or um, there's just, I don't know, there's just things that people do every day that, for self-care, and if you, maybe it's a hobby or something even, but things that you enjoy, if you're going without the things that you do to care for yourself, or the things that you like to do, because and you're sacrificing them because of this your toxic partner, good indication right there that that's toxic. The 13th one I've got here is, if you find you're hoping for change, are you remaining in a relationship because you remember how good it was at the beginning? Not a good thing. Especially if you are hanging in there because you're just hoping that, someday it's going to change, and you're telling yourself, if I change, if I do this and this and this, then hopefully this person will come around and they'll treat me better. No, it's probably not going to get better, and that's a real big red flag right there. If you're telling yourself, well, if I just change myself, if you can't be yourself with another person, they really aren't worth being around, honestly, guys. The 14th one, and I know this one well, guys. Walking on eggshells. Do you worry about bringing up a certain topic, or is there something bothering you, but you don't dare bring it up? Um, or are you constantly scanning every situation when you are with this other person, and you're scanning the environment just to try to make sure, you're trying to find anything that could go wrong so you could possibly take care of it so it doesn't go wrong. That's walking on eggshells, and I did that a lot growing up. It's not fun. It's exhausting. And that's definitely a sign of a toxic relationship right there. Now, the good question is it possible to fix toxic relationships? Yes, it is. But it has to be that both sides want to make the changes. It takes a lot of maturity and a lot of being self-aware and being responsible for yourself. It takes a lot. It's not fun, but it can be saved. But like I said, you have to be willing to accept responsibility first of all. You need to recognize, both people need to recognize that the past behaviors have been toxic and they haven't been working, and you both have to own whatever it was that you have been doing in the relationship that wasn't working right. But again, this has to be both, on both ends, for it to work. And the second thing that goes into that is you've got to be, if you want to make those changes, you've got to be willing to invest the time into it. Are you both willing to invest that time to make the relationship better? If that's the case, you want to have some serious and deep conversations with the other person. And you want to do things where you're going to spend some more quality time. But again, you've got to both be willing to put in the work. It's not going to be easy, and it's not going to be an instant fix at all. Not even, but it can happen. Another thing you need to remember is if you're wanting to, to try and fix things, you need to shift from blaming to understanding. And you need to, steer all whatever the conversation is, you want to steer it away from any kind of blaming. And what do I mean by that? What you don't want to do is say, okay, it's your fault. That's not a good one. Or you always do X, Y, and Z. That's not going to go. People automatically get their defenses up when you approach it that way. But if you say something like, I think we misunderstood each other, let's try it again. Or I understand that you were feeling stressed out when you and upset, how can we make this work? Things like that are a lot more helpful than just blaming. And so again, you just need to remember, you've got to change your communication techniques. And if you can do that, that really does help. Another thing you need to remember, and this is an important one, is you need to be open to outside help. If you really, if you're in a relationship and it started out really well and it was really strong and there's a lot of good things there, and you want to keep it, I would seriously recommend getting professional help. Maybe couples, if it's a couple, couples counseling might be appropriate, but always, always for both sides, individual counseling is very helpful as well. And I did find a link, and I forgot to put it. I was going to put it I'll put it on the community tab, but I found a link that says it's supposed to help you find affordable help that way, counseling, whether it is marriage counseling or or individual counseling, whatever. But there is absolutely no shame, guys, in getting some professional help. And sometimes, especially if the relationship, that this toxic one that you've been in, if you've been in it for a very long time, there's so many little things that have happened over time, and they're very subtle, and you might not even realize. And it often takes an outside person with, that's a neutral point of view, to look at both sides, and to pick them out and say, hey, wait a minute, I saw this and I saw that. You're not going to see that on your own. So it really, it's very helpful, um, to get that outside help, and also to get help with your communication skills. I know, for everybody in the lifeboat, us as addicts, we suck at conversation, because rather than try to work things out, we have chosen an escape, and so we're not so good at communication skills, but you can build on them, you can work at it. And um, let's see. Oh boy, I've got all kinds of other things here. I forgot I had all this stuff. You can move forward, in toxic relationships. You can fix them if you want to, but again, it has to be both sides that want to do it. It's a difficult thing. um, and I don't know if I have ever. No, I have. Okay, I'll take that back. Yeah, when my second marriage, there was a time when my husband and I, mm, this weekend it'll be our 19th anniversary. So yeah, it's working. But there was a time when I didn't know if it would. We both didn't know if we wanted to stick it out, if it would work out at all. And things were a bit toxic at times, but we both did still want it, and we both were willing to put the work in. And it did take time, but it was definitely worth it. I've got a wonderful man. And he's not just my husband, he's my best friend. So, and he's my running coach too, which is nice. But it can happen. Um, I've got a bunch of other stuff, but I really don't want to start into that, because I'll only be able to start into it and won't be able to finish it, and I hate it when I do that. So I'm just going to see who all is in chat and say hi to everybody. Caucasian Sasquatch, Taji, and Charlie, and John Doe, and Lemmy, and Random Toaster. I love that name. Annette, Trish. Let's see. And I know Cindy's here. Ultra Magatee's here. Um, let's see. I hope I'm not missing anybody. Full of Hope is here. Good morning. Well, Full of Hope, it's not morning for you, but she's across the pond, guys. Let's see. If I missed anyone, I apologize, and I don't have. Oh, Drew. Hi, Drew. Monk. Goodness, I almost missed you guys. Anyway, I don't have a way to check the chat on my channel up here on the side of this mountain. So anyway, hey, it was different. I'm sorry you didn't get to see a really good sunrise, but see if I can. Come on. There it is. See, it's starting to come up now. It did look. I'm just disappointed. It looked so pretty in pink earlier, but the camera wouldn't show it. So, oh well. Anyway, I hope you guys have a really great day, and I'm sure. Well, you'll have Tommy or Johnny tonight. I don't know which one, but oh dear, and someone tried to. Oh, whoops! And somebody tried to jump on with me. Oh, Full of Hope. Are she still there? I'm trying to bring her up. I didn't even see that. Oh dear. I guess she's. You there? Nope. I guess she's not there anymore. Anyway, I am sorry, Full of Hope, for not seeing you before now. Anyway, I'm going to go home and get my run done. You guys have a great day. I will talk to you again really soon.